Well, welcome back. I'm excited to continue our conversation with Get to Know the Speakers. And for this next one, we are going to talk to somebody who in their past life was an arts administrator in administration and in legislation. So I think we need to start right there, Brittany. How the heck do you stroll over into the wedding industry and want to speak on a stage and share your knowledge coming from that to creative as it might be? But then again, the similarities might not be so different. Please share, my friend.
100%. So, actually getting into the wedding industry, probably like so many out there, was really prompted when I got married. My wonderful husband is a pilot. And so when we met, I was actually working for the DC government at the time in their arts and humanities division as like a community affairs and legislative assistant. I really wanted to pursue what it means to look at arts and humanities legislation. But when we got married, because his schedule is wackadoodle, there was like no guarantee that we would ever, see each other if I had any sort of 9 to 5. Right. And we had a live wedding painter. When we got married, she was the only one I'd like ever heard of, ever come across. And of course, we hired her, we have the piece, we treasure it. And so I just saw there was a bit of opportunity there in terms of there's obviously a need for more of that. She was the only one I'd ever heard of. And, going into business for myself would offer a bit of flexibility. So, I can actually see this new guy that I decided to say yes to.
And you could actually have that jump seat whenever you want to go with a jump seat. So you might as well have your bag packed ready to go. Why be tied down to a 9 to 5? Come on.
That's it. And I talk a bit about that in my talk about like my personal example of leaning into resources that I happen to have that, trickle into my business. But in terms of speaking and whatnot, I draw a lot from my past in arts administration and legislation, because a lot of what I did was advocate on behalf of artists and humanitarians, especially in a government setting where so many people do not get it. Their brains are different. They're left-brained. They want highly logical things. They don't understand the importance of the arts and humanities. And honestly, that's can be so applicable to us as wedding vendors, because even in just one sale or one couple, there's going to be multiple decision makers who may not get the heck, understand why you need to be brought on board and especially paid what you're asking them.
Wait, you need a spot set up where so you can do what?
Precise. Yeah, exactly. So it's like it sounds a little different, but in terms of, I kind of hate the whole like conveying your value. I think it's a little buzzy, but what I mean.
It's been the theme of the day. It's been the theme of the day.
Exactly. Yeah. But the similarities are actually very similar. And that's what I draw upon a lot.
Hence the word draw is in there too. Look at that. Well, so coming to ABC, why did you feel that you would be a good fit to speak? Keeping everything aside, this is a personal question. Yeah. I try to help people believe in themselves. So even when speakers that I know and don't know, I often ask that question. You felt you had something to bring. You felt you had something. So you had the confidence to hit the submit button. Yeah. When you did that, you knew that this topic was going to resonate. And why was it important for you to go, you know what, I'm doing it? If I get accepted, great. If I don't, great. But I have something to say. Here's my message. Explain a little bit about that process and how that marries over to being an entrepreneur and ties in with your topic.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say my answer is a little bit twofold. On one hand, I adore the topic that I'm going to be presenting, strategy over style. And so, there's that just natural adoration, but especially as a live wedding artist, the blessing of what I do is I get to work with a lot of different people every year across a very wide spectrum of weddings, budgets, cultures, whatnot. Mm-hmm. And so, especially when it comes to primarily helping wedding planners, I work with many, and I work just with a wide variety of vendors consistently. A lot more so than maybe other vendor types, if that makes sense. And I think that comes down to the nature of my service. And so there's just a lot of things that I have learned, especially the hard way, as that vendor category kind of on the outside looking in. And so that's what I draw upon in my topic of so many of us, the natural inclination is to lean into our style as our differentiating factor, and that's what we try to market. And in fact, that can blow up in your face very
quickly.
Very quickly. And in fact, there's a lot more opportunity there to lean into strategy in order to find a bit of success, no matter your vendor category. And yeah, a lot of that is drawn from being a niche person, trying to find success in an industry that ultimately sometimes doesn't even know I exist and doesn't even know my service exists. So that's where I always feel like I have something to say and something to give.
And that's a good point, because you're not the only new niche. Like, I have been in this industry 42 years, and I am very well versed in planners, especially coming from the South. They're in a lot of weddings, and sometimes doing multiple pieces. I mean, I've been blessed as a photographer to work with and suggest painters that are doing from the engagement session to come along with me to a so they have a collection of art aside from my photos when they get done. So there's new niches that are coming in. There's new people that are bringing, the snow cone niche in some areas, not just a cone truck, but they literally come and it's like a really cool stand. They do flavored, customized colors and the whole bit. Yeah. Most people wouldn't think that that's doable. But then again, 10 years ago, nobody thought about doing, God forsake, drunks with fire sticks, sparkler exits, or they didn't think about, I can get a boat and have an exit. So we evolve in the wedding industry. So I know that one of your missions and your goals is that you want to paint like in every United States. Yeah. Talk a little bit about, regardless of your niche as an entrepreneur, why having goals like that may be bigger are important. So like maybe you're a destination photographer and you want to work at this location, or maybe you're somebody who just stays in your home state and is well known and does great, but you choose to want to do something different. Talk a little bit about challenging yourself to have personal goals.
Yeah, I would say what I found the most heartwarming thing to come out of establishing those goals that kind of bridge personal and professional is how many people step up to help you achieve it. And that I don't know if I necessarily expected when I first started putting out there that I personally would love to paint at least one wedding in every state. I thought of it strictly as like this very transactional thing. But what really just continues to warm my heart is noticing how people get such fulfillment from doing even the simplest thing to help me reach that goal. It brings them fulfillment more so than, me just checking something off of my list. And the fact that has been very fruitful professionally, obviously bookings, fantastic. Sure. But the personal of the connections made along the way, simply from strangers who just, had a little stone to throw in my path to help me get to the next step. I mean, that's worth more than, even the professional side. So I hope I answered you
did, because what I wanted to get to the bottom of is a lesson that regardless of what you do in the industry or even the out, but we're talking wedding and events, is if you don't put out there something that you want to achieve or do, how is anybody going to know about it? Yeah. Why keep it a secret? I mean, I think I'm all about affirmations. My role is mindset and confidence builder. That's what I'm known for. So I always tell people, if you want to do something, then you're the one standing in your way. Right. Because what's meant for you is meant for you. So if you're out there, and so I wanted you to share that you are somebody who has put out there, this is what I want to do, and people will help you open the doors. Yeah. Yeah. And so when you share with how you do, that also helps people know, this is what she does. And I'm going to guarantee that I bet you don't just do wedding and events anymore. You do other types of events as well. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. And then especially, it's always heartwarming, those who come back. Yes. The marriage has happened, but now other life events start to happen. That's always heartwarming to hear from them again and be a part of another life milestone. Share a little bit about how you reach out to wedding pros. You don't have to go deep marketing because we'll keep some of that for there. But what was one of the things when you transitioned, you said, okay, in order for me to really try to do what this wedding planner did for us, and I want to do that. What were some of the steps that you took to start getting out there, to get known, and to build your business? Those lean years of, okay, I'm believing in myself, I got to do it. What
Yeah.
steps did you take to do that?
Yeah, I mean, definitely having that 50 state goal really helped. And it's now, it's very interesting how, like 9 years later, how it's played out that I don't do a lot of weddings locally. The vast majority of my business tends to be out of state. Now that took a while to get there, but seeing like the fruits of that initial labor of putting that national goal out early has been really interesting. And then strategically, I think what I remember doing was being very strategic about vendor partners who were especially working at venues, regardless of local or national, just venues that I knew I could translate onto a canvas really well. Were they working there consistently, or did I hear through the grapevine at certain networking events that we had a mutual dream venue or dream whatever in common, and that's how we connected? And then I'm also very honest that when I say in terms of outreach, I think my niche specialty spoke for itself. I think I remember getting a lot of positive responses from people off the bat simply because they were curious in the service. So I can very much understand if a different vendor category, if they're between 1 and 3 years right now, maybe they're feeling like they're not getting those positive responses right away. I just want to recognize that was a huge part of my journey. So I think between those three, that really got the ball rolling in the first 1 or 2 years, especially.
And I think for somebody who is doing such a valuable and special piece of art, communication has to be a high priority, and managing client expectations. Maybe share a little bit, and I'm sure that you'll talk a little bit in your session about it, and we'll go back to your session in a minute, but I really wanted to take a few minutes for those that are listening in that might be on the fence of coming, that might feel, I don't know if I'm going to get a lot out of it. If I come, will I get my ROI out of attending? I'm just kind of new to the industry, but I don't really know where I fit. Communication and being able to say what you do effectively and to show the value. How are you communicating that and then managing client expectations? Because just because you have a beautiful venue doesn't necessarily mean that might be the best place to paint, right?
Yeah.
So share a little bit about your process for when a wedding pro hands out. And again, wedding planners are going to be the primary people that attend here. But I think that anybody that is in an industry like this, if you have somebody like you, they find room in the budget to have somebody like you, because if it's important to the client, there is room to make that work. But share a little bit about that communication and then managing client expectations.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's so funny you bring that up, because I think this is actually a huge conversation going on in our little live painter community of we're starting, now that it's been around for X amount of years, rather consistently, some like hard data is starting to come out. And what I'm very passionate about is, not anyone, but people with any little bit of artistic talent could do what I do, right? There's a lot of people that could pick up a camera and take a picture. There's a lot of people that can develop a rough timeline. Everything that we do, there's I don't want to, the easy is not the word I'm looking for, but there aren't as many roadblocks in terms of how to get started. And so then when you're trying to make a living, well, why ultimately hire you? Why ultimately hire me? And I'm super passionate about strategically leaning into yourself, because if you lined me up with any other live wedding artist, our deliverable is roughly the same, right? Same with any photographer, any wedding vendor, the deliverables are the same. And so if I stayed there in terms of talking about the deliverables, I'm just going to get passed up for someone who's cheaper. That's just psychologically, that's how a human's going to work, right? And so for me, some very strategic and wonderful things that I've found with my clients that I now lean on, especially on the communication side, is very fast communication. And as a sidebar, I'll say I didn't realize how important that was to my clients until I went through a rebranding process. Just shout out ID Action Consulting. I've worked with Sam and have had their copywriting team like do my website and everything. And I think they interviewed like 25 of my past and current clients at the time. And the number one thing that kept coming up was how much they appreciated a very fast and prompt response.
Yes,
To me, it was like a no-brainer, but now I'm like, well, awesome to see that in writing, that's like what you loved. I'm just going to continue doing that. So
you were just doing what you naturally do. And I think that's what we do as wedding pros, especially. We make it so hard for people to actually do work with us. We make it hard for people to give us the check. So you communicate, you're answering what they need. You're just doing that because that's how you would like to be treated. Oh my gosh. Brain flash here. Just treat people the way you want to be treated, and you're probably going to get a check. So go ahead, continue.
Bobbi, I could go on a whole another time. So that was one thing. And lesson, like, ask your people. I think I was like afraid to ask my people, but no, freaking ask your people like what they appreciate most about you. But then two, stepping away from just the hard deliverable of a painting, I really started to notice after a while that I was attracting clients with very similar values. And oftentimes that value came down to our dogs and our pets. Because I kind of in line with the painting in every state goal, I put out very early that it was going to be like a core value of my business to give back to the local animal rescue where my husband and I adopted now our 2 dogs. And just that bit of generosity, the wonderful people that attracts, and that right there, encouraging them to pick me over others. Even when maybe there is a significant price difference or whatnot, that's been really heartwarming. And so whatever, whoever's listening, whatever that is for you, whether it is charitable, whether it is a value, whatever, like lean into it. And then after a while, the ripple effect, I don't know science, the tide's going to come back to you, right? Or bringing you the people of like, that was the differentiating factor that made us go with you over these other people. So I really, in terms of communicating across all of my platforms, whether it's website or social media, you're going to keep finding that, like the effective communication. You're going to find the pets. You're going to find maybe like 3 to 5 things that I very strategically just like keep lovingly peppering people with.
But I think that's part of the communication is we already know you're in the wedding industry. You don't have to talk about being a painter every day. Here's what motivates me. Here's what my core values are. Here's what's keep me on my mission. Here's part of my why story. And I think we forget that our why doesn't always have to be about something that makes us feel good, but it has to be about something that we can do to make a greater change and make an impact. I mean, we start businesses for the profit, but we also need to start business for the impact, right? And in this industry that is such an easy entry to get into, we say it all the time, for those who've been around for a long time, you literally can just start tomorrow planning a wedding. And now, will it be good or will it be bad? Does it harm the industry? Those are whole conversations that for 40 years I've been preaching, right? But you have to believe in yourself. You have to have the confidence. And like you have a talent. You knew that it would make a difference. And it's one of those things that I look at your paintings and I smile. I look at your paintings and I cry. That is the power, I think, of art. As a photographer, my role is to take you back to how you're feeling on that day. And just like your paintings, no 2 people will look at that painting and feel the same way. Our role is to evoke emotion and make you think about something. That's the power in what we do with the medium that we're in.
And not be afraid to use it to detract.
Exactly.
You don't just have to attract.
Exactly.
Just and you can go the other way.
Well, 100%. And again, what goes out comes back, So as we get ready to come and listen to you for strategy over style, I've been letting all the listeners and reminding everybody to reach out ahead of time to the speakers, get in the DMs and ask some questions so that you can maybe cultivate a little bit and share a little bit in your presentation, some struggles that you're hearing. So as the people get ready to prep, what's the best way to come hear your session? Do they know that they need to be making a change? Because, not everybody's going to want to come and be a live artist, but your message is broader, right? Yeah. And also, though, how to work with a live painter and to learn how that communication goes. How can I best prep to come and listen open mind, open heart. We know that. What can I do to come and sit and listen to you and fill up my notebook to have some actionable strategies?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the number one thing, especially coming to my talk, is getting real with yourself of, do you feel like you're leaning into the deliverables like we talked about? Do you think like you're only leaning into something so surface level as style? And then we can go from there, because once you kind of admit to yourself that this is where what my business is leaning into, do I feel like I'm plateauing because I'm doing that? Like, get comfortable with the uncomfortable feelings you maybe have surrounding, like, are you leaning further this way?
Right.
Because then I think you'll be able to come into my talk and really take something away from it. At the core of my talk is this little formula that I came up with a few years ago. And I still return to the formula, even though things are relatively stable right now. It's a simple like A plus B plus C formula. And I have 9 key categories and like 16 subcategories of different spots in your business that could maybe use some attention. And together, I'm going to teach you how to like pick and plug them into this formula for ideation purposes. If you need to come up with something new and that's where you are in your life and business right now, or even for operations, if something needs, a little bit of tweaking. So yeah, sit with yourself, admit to yourself if this is where you're at right now, and then come into the talk ready to like pick some things apart. And I promise you'll leave better for it. It may sound a little overwhelming right now, but I promise it's not.
But I think that's a wonderful way to come at the whole conference.
Yes.
Every single speaker, and I can speak for the board, the education board, the new leadership, and Erin and her conference team. They want you to arrive, and maybe you're arriving because you're coming through the year. This is in November, so maybe you've had a really crappy year. Oh. Maybe you just came off a really crappy wedding, and maybe things aren't looking so great in 25. You're going to sit with a group of like-minded people, and you're going to be with a group of speakers that have been where you are, not exactly the same footprints, but have walked the same steps and have come out on the other side. Now, we're going to challenge you. We're not going to do the work for you, right, but we're going to give you instructions. You're going to get formulas. You're going to get blueprints, and you're going to have the opportunity, the way Erin is set up, where you can have a speaker room. There's also an implementation room. So you'll be able to talk to all the speakers throughout the conference, but you'll be able to go and talk to Brittany. If you want to take it a step further, she's going to be hanging out in this room, being able to talk and share. So come with that intention of, I'm going to get my ROI back because I'm going to invest in myself. I believe in my business. I believe in myself. I'm going to get the ROI out because I'm showing up. I'm taking those first steps to show up. I'm coming with an open mind, open heart, and an open notebook, and I'm going to just embrace whatever comes my way. So if you do not have your ticket yet, do not miss this convention. Do not miss this conference. It has so many things that past ABCs didn't have, so many things that past ABCs did have, and marrying them all together to give you an ultimate experience at the end of the year, on a year that I still think a lot of us are recovering from, and to help you realize you are meant to be doing this. You are meant to be here. This is your calling. Lean into it. You've heard all the speakers for the past 2 days talk about leaning in. You've heard the speakers talk about value and not understanding why we don't charge more and why we don't believe in ourselves. Come sit with like-minded people who might be struggling, who might find success, who might find an answer, who might be asking the same question. I guarantee you, everybody's asking the same questions. Everybody feels the way that you feel. Come listen to Brittany. Come get inspired by Brittany. As we wrap up, I would like you to give 3 words that people can continue on between now and the conference. 3 words that are going to inspire change in them to get them ready to come. Just 3 words.
Oh my gosh.
That's sorry. 3. Oh my gosh. Okay.
I'm sorry. Yay.
You did it. Yay.
Okay. But I'm such a thesaurus girl. Sorry. Okay. 3 words between now and the conference. Oh my gosh. Okay. Why am I freezing up today? Maybe it's the heat. What can you share? What were your 3 words? That may help me get my brain.
I literally want you to believe. It has to start with belief. Believing that everything you're doing up to come into convention is going to help you. I also want you to be open. Be open for the opportunities that are coming between now and the convention. And then the last one that I had in there is to be empowered and be empowering. It's not just about what you're going to take, but what can you bring to make a difference at the conference. So leading up to that, think of these next few months of doing those 3 things so that you walk in ready to go.
Okay. Honestly, I think it comes back to comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yep, I love that. Do that, and then get ready, and then come. We can't wait to see you in St. Louis. Brittany can't wait to see you. Get into her DMs, start meeting her, start meeting all the other speakers. That's what they're here for, is to, even if you wanted to say hi, thank you, after you listen to the recordings, just say, hey, so looking forward to meeting you. We can't wait to see you in St. Louis. Get your tickets. And for those that you already have your tickets, be excited. Start sharing. I don't want this to be 10,000 people coming, but I want this to be a good, solid core of intimate people that are all going to be ready to take everything that you're learning and everything you are to be just a little bit more favo, right? That's what we're looking about. Motivated to be favo. Thanks, friends. Brittany, thank you for your time and your space. We'll see you in St. Louis, my friend.